the question of how do you protect infrastructure is no longer about building walls around it or having some form of defensive warlike metaphor. But instead, I think we need to think about it more from a public health metaphor. So we have to do a few things. We have to take preventative measures, so we have to vaccinate ourselves, right? So we have to ensure that the infrastructure is as up to date and its immune system, whatever you want to call it, is up to date. But you also have to look at it in a wider social context, that infrastructure isn't alone on its own. It isn't separate from the rest of society. Instead, we have to look at the much wider, all the other wider social influences. And so the ways to prevent cyber terrorism, for example, is not just to have a really good firewall, but also to promote a society where that sort of thing is very difficult and is socially unacceptable, and so on. So I think we're going to have to start to see infrastructure builders and investors and so on being much more part of the wider civil society response to these sorts of attacks, because we're starting to see these sorts of attacks be used by countries, not just criminals. And so it is a national security and a critical national infrastructure issue rather than just a criminal risk issue. And so it has to be part of a much wider philosophy of protection, which I think is better done as a public health metaphor rather than a warfare, like we'll dig a moat and we'll put a wall and a warfare thing. So we have to think more holistically, and we have to think of it as if it's public health rather than warfare.